Hello everyone, welcome to today's lecture. So today we are going to start with chapter 16, heredity and variation. You might have studied about the terms heredity and variation. What is heredity? Heredity is the transmission of characteristics from parents to their offsprings. And what do you mean by variation? The changes which you see from one generation to next generation, that is said to be variations. In this chapter we are going to study about chromosomes. Okay, about inheritance. What do you mean by inheritance? Then heredity, then the characteristics and the appearance of different characteristics in one generation and in the next generation, Mendel's laws of inheritance, diseases due to chromosomal aberrations, that is abnormalities. So first we will study about what do you mean by genetics, heredity and inheritance. What is genetics? You may see the branch of biology which studies the transfer of characteristics of organisms from one generation to the next, genes in particular, is called as genetics. I have written the definition here. You may see the branch of biology which studies with the transfer of characteristics of organisms from one generation to the next, and genes in particular, the study of genes, it is called as genetics. So in living organisms there are two types of reproduction which is seen. One is asexual reproduction and another is sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction only one parent is concerned. Okay, it takes place from the body of single parent, and in sexual reproduction in that two parents are included. Okay, so here as in asexual reproduction, the next generation formed, that is the offspring formed, are having minor variations from that of their parents, whereas in case of sexual reproduction the offsprings formed, that means the next generation which is formed, it will be having greater variation compared to that of the previous generation. That means their variations will be more compared to that of an asexual reproduction. So there are two types of reproduction: asexual reproductions which show minor variations and sexual reproduction which show greater variations. Okay, now on page number 179 there is an observe question. Carefully observe your classmates' earlobes. If you might have observed, there are two types of earlobes: attached earlobes and free earlobes. Okay, attached earlobes means the earlobes are directly attached to the skin of the head. Okay, whereas in free earlobes there is a curve. There is a curve, that is free earlobes. Now attached earlobes are rarely seen. Rarely means less compared to that of free earlobes. Irrespective of all of us being humans, what difference do you notice in our skin color? Okay, now skin color is due to gene, due to a particular protein which is produced, melanin pigment which is produced in the body. It is produced by the genes. Okay, now whether the genes are dominant or recessive, according to that the color of our skin depends. Okay, all of you are in standard 9. Why are then some students tall and some are short? Basically it is decided genetically which gene the particular organism has acquired from its previous generation. Now in figure 16.1 you may see the facial features, the dominant features which are seen: the nose and the lips, the characteristics, different types. Attachment of earlobe, they have shown the first one is attached earlobe and the next one is free earlobe. And hairline, there is in some people there is a widow's peak like this. That means the hairline is a little bit covering the forehead and the forehead is less comparatively. So such differences can be seen in different human beings. Now we may move on to the next page, that is page number 180, that is heredity. Now what is heredity? Heredity is the transfer of characteristics from parents to offspring. Now, what is the difference between heredity and inheritance? Inheritance is the transfer of acquired characteristics from one generation to the next. Acquired means which we get in our lifetime. Okay, that means for example, in my lifetime I have acquired some characteristic, I have studied some characteristic, and I have that particular habit of doing something. If it is passed on to the next generation, then that is said to be inheritance. But the characteristics which are in my genes, which is transferred to the next generation, that is said to be heredity. So there is a simple hairline difference between heredity and inheritance. Both are transfer of characteristics, but inheritance is the transfer of acquired characteristics. That means not necessarily it is in our genes, but it is an acquired characteristic which we get in our lifetime, and it is transferred from one generation to the next. That is said to be inherited. Okay. Now the next is gene. What do you mean by a gene? Now gene is a segment of DNA. Have you studied about DNA? Where is the DNA present? The DNA is present inside the nucleus of the cell. Okay, inside the nucleus of plant and animal cell. In bacterial cell also DNA is present. Okay. Now page number 180. There is a can you tell question. How do specific traits or characteristics appear in organisms? Now traits or characteristics. Trait means a particular group which is having a particular type of characteristic. That is meant by a trait. Now particular traits are having particular characteristics. Why so? Because it has been written in their genes. Okay, it is written in their genes. Now what do you mean by a gene? I will show you. If you had studied the structure of a cell, inside a cell there are threads like this, which are called as chromatin threads. If you see these chromatin threads in detail, if you study, then these chromatin threads, it is made up of DNA. Okay, it is made up of DNA. These DNA, okay, this will coil one arrange the other. Okay, it will coil one around the other. Coil around the other, coil and supercoil to form a chromosome. So chromosome is basically a DNA. Okay, now if this chromosome is made straight, that means if this is the DNA, the long chromosome, if it is unfolded and opened, then it will form a single DNA like this. Okay, that one DNA can be divided into different genes. Okay, one part, okay, consider from here to here, that is coding for, you know about coding, it is coding for the color of the hair. It is a characteristic, color of the hair. From here to here, it is coding for height of the person. Okay, that means height of the person. These are all proteins which are produced. Okay, so for one protein there is one gene. One protein, one gene. That means the particular part, I'll show you, the segment of DNA which contains all the information for synthesis of a particular protein is called a gene for that protein. That means the DNA consists of several genes. One gene means it is a part, tukda, it is a part of DNA which codes for a particular protein, single particular protein. That is single characteristic or single trait. That is how the characteristics are transferred from one generation to the next. So how do they show variations? This gene, this single gene, if it is functioning properly, consider it is producing enough amount of hormone. Consider it is growth hormone in plants. Okay, if the gene is producing enough growth hormone, then the plant will grow to a particular height, to a particular size. if that growth hormone is not produced enough, it is produced in lesser quantities due to some conditions, okay, if it is produced in lesser quantities, then the plant growth will be stunted. That means it will not grow. So there is DNA. On that DNA there is a gene. The gene produces the protein and protein shows the characteristic. So who is the basic thing which is coding? The basic thing which is coding for a particular characteristic is a gene. Okay, and the gene is on the long strand of DNA which forms the chromosome. Now we may move on to the next topic, that is chromosome. Now page number 180, heading chromosome. What is a chromosome? The structure in the nucleus of cells that carries the hereditary characteristic is called as a chromosome. It is made up of nucleic acids and proteins. Nucleic acids means DNA, and it has some proteins also. So what is a chromosome? The structure in the nucleus of the cells that carries the hereditary characteristics is called the chromosome. It is made up of nucleic acids and proteins. Now we'll see the textbook. During cell division, chromosomes can be clearly seen under the microscope. That means you cannot see this chromatin thread okay, under a compound microscope. This DNA also you cannot see under a compound microscope, but that DNA coils and supercoils to form chromosome, and at that time when it forms a chromosome, then you can see it under a microscope, under a compound microscope. Genes which contain the information about hereditary characteristics in coded form are located on chromosomes. Okay. Next paragraph you have to write as the answer if you are having a question, structure of chromosome. Short note on structure of chromosome. Each chromosome is made up of DNA and it appears dumbbell shaped during cell division. Okay, so it appears dumbbell shaped. There is a constriction in the middle. That constriction, it is called as centromere. The constriction in the middle is called as centromere. There are two arms. The upper arm is named as P arm and the lower arm is called as Q arm. And this is the DNA. Okay, it shows that it is made up of DNA. This paragraph you have to write if you are having a question on structure of chromosome. Now chromosomes are having a constriction which is called as centromere. Based on the position of that centromere, chromosomes are of 4 types. You may see here the types of chromosomes. If the centromere is in the middle of the chromosome, it is in the center and it is V-shaped. Okay, it is V-shaped, then it is said to be metacentric. Okay, if it is V-shaped, then it is said to be metacentric. Now the next is submetacentric. In case of submetacentric, it is not at the center but it is towards one side. It is not exactly at the center but it is towards one side. Such chromosomes, it is said to be submetacentric and it is L-shaped. Okay. The third one is, it is towards one side. Okay, towards one side and only one arm is small and the other arm is longer. So such shape, it is said to be acrocentric and it is in the form of J. Okay, it is in the form of J. You write the J like this. Okay, it is in the form of J. Next is telocentric, where the chromosome, the centromere is towards one end and it is in the form of I. Okay, so based on the position of centromeres, there are 4 types of chromosomes. What are they? You may see on page number 181. Metacentric, the centromere is exactly at the midpoint. It shows the letter V. Submetacentric, near the midpoint, looks like English letter L. Acrocentric, near one end, it looks like English letter J. Telocentric, it is right at the end of the chromosome and it looks like English letter I. If you are having a question on types of chromosomes, okay, what are the types of chromosomes, then first of all you have to write that based on the position of centromere, the chromosomes are divided into 4 types. Okay, what are they? Metacentric, submetacentric, acrocentric and telocentric. Okay, this you have to write. This is a 3-mark question. Diagram is compulsory. Okay, next, homologous chromosomes. Below that paragraph they have given some definitions. They are called as homologous chromosomes. Now what do you mean by homologous chromosomes? We all are having 2 sets of chromosomes. That means, for example, when you are studying science now, you are having only one textbook. That means you are having one set of books. One textbook of science, one of history, one of geography, one of maths and so on. Isn't it? So that makes one set. If you are having 2 each, then it is said to be 2 sets. That means if you are having 2 science books, 2 English textbooks, 2 maths textbooks, 2 history textbooks, 2 geography textbook, all the textbooks, all the subjects you are having 2 in number, then it is said to be 2 sets of books. Similarly, we are having 2 sets of chromosomes. Okay, why? That I cannot say. Maybe because if one don't doesn't work, other might work. We can think like that. Okay, at your level we can think like that. Okay. Now diploid. Diploid means 2 sets of chromosomes. The term diploid we will be studying in the next lecture. But for me to explain this term, that is homologous chromosomes. For every characteristic there are 2 sets of genes. Okay, there are 2 sets of genes. On page number 188, figure 16.8, you may see. In that figure, they have shown the karyotype of chromosomes in human beings. Chromosome number 1. How many chromosome number 1 they have drawn? They have drawn 2 chromosomes. 2 chromosome number 1. How many chromosome number 2? 2 chromosome number 2. How many chromosome number 3? 2 chromosome number 3. Okay, every chromosome from 1 to 23, they are 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 in number. Okay, have you noticed? Now, chromosome number 1 is having 2. Those 2 are called as homologous chromosomes. Okay, those 2 of chromosome number 1. Those 2 means one chromosome number 1 and another chromosome number 1. I will show you. They have shown like this. Okay, like this. This is chromosome number 1, but there is the one chromosome number 1 and another chromosome number 1. These 2 are called as homologous chromosomes. Okay, these 2 are called as homologous chromosomes. Now we will see the definition of homologous chromosome. In somatic cells, chromosomes are in pairs. Now what do you mean by somatic cells? Somatic cells means the cells, the vegetative cells in the body, except the reproductive cells. We are having a reproductive system. Not only us, every living animal, even in case of plants, there is a reproductive system. In the reproductive system, particular type of cells are formed which are having only one set of chromosomes. Whereas in somatic cells, they are having 2 sets of chromosomes. Okay, understood? First we will study about somatic cells. Somatic cells, the normal cells in our body, they are having 2 sets of chromosomes. If the pair consists of similar chromosomes by shape and organization, then it is said to be homologous chromosomes. Here you may see their shape and organization is the same. They are similar. It is said to be homologous chromosomes. If they are not similar, it is said to be heterologous chromosomes. In the same diagram, figure 16.8, you may see the last chromosome number, that is chromosome number 23. there are two types, XX and XY. Okay, XX and XY. Just let me take that page. 23. They have shown two similar and one longer and one shorter. One longer, both longer, it is XX, and one longer and one shorter is XY. Okay. If both longer are the same, then they could be called as homologous chromosomes. The other one is longer and another is shorter, it is heterologous chromosomes. Okay, so if they are similar by shape and organization, then it is said to be homologous chromosomes. If they are not similar, then it is said to be heterologous chromosomes. So this is homologous chromosomes, this is heterologous chromosomes. Now what do you mean by autosomes? Autosomes means one chromosome number 1 to chromosome number 22. Okay, in that diagram figure 16.8, chromosome number 1 to chromosome number 22. It stands for, it is working for all the characteristics of the body except the reproductive part. Okay, except the reproductive part. They are called as autosomes. Whereas the last one, which is 23rd pair, okay, 23rd pair, they are XX or XY. They stand for sexual reproduction. They work at the time of, they work every day, but it is useful at the for sexual reproduction. It is useful for sexual reproduction. So such chromosomes, that is that 23rd pair of chromosome, it is called as sex chromosome or allosomes. In case of female, XX, and in case of male, XY. You might be knowing about this. So XX or XY, these are sex chromosomes or allosomes. So hope you have understood the meaning of all these words. What do you mean by homologous chromosome? What do you mean by heterologous chromosome? What do you mean by autosomes, and what are sex chromosomes, okay, or allosomes? These are the definitions which are very important for this year also, next year also. Now you may copy this in your notebook. Now we will study the structure of DNA. What is DNA? DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. It is a nucleic acid which is present in the nucleus of the cell. Now this nucleic acids, that means in the cell there is a particular acid which is present, that was discovered by the scientist Frederick Miescher in 1869, and it was considered to be a master molecule. Now this is a very important give reason why DNA is considered to be a master molecule. The answer is there in the second last paragraph, you may underline. The master molecule, it is said to be a master molecule because it controls the functioning and growth and division of a cell. Okay, every cell has to function properly, it has to grow properly, and it has to divide. That means it has to reproduce, it has to divide properly. All these processes are controlled by DNA. That is why it is said to be the master molecule. Now we will study the structure of DNA, which was put forward by Watson and Crick in the year 1953. DNA is basically made up of 3 units. One is sugar, second is phosphoric acid, and third is nitrogenous base. Okay, so if you are going to make DNA, you will need these 3 things. One is sugar. Which sugar? Deoxyribose sugar. Second, phosphoric acid, and third is nitrogenous base. Nitrogenous bases are of 2 types, purines and pyrimidines. Purines, again, they are of 2 types, adenine and guanine. Pyrimidines are of 2 types, cytosine and thymine. One purine always pairs with a pyrimidine. Okay, that is A always pairs with T. That means adenine always form hydrogen bonds with T, okay, with thymine, and cytosine always form hydrogen bonds with guanine. So ATGC, ATGC, ATGC. So adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, or thymine, adenine, guanine, cytosine. Okay, so they pair with each other. One purine pairs with a pyrimidine. Now I will show you the structure of DNA. This is the structure of DNA. It is made up of two parallel threads which are wound around the other, so it forms a double helix. So it is said to be a double helix. Why it is said to be a double helix? Because it forms a layered structure, ladder like structure. There are two parallel strands. They will get wound around the other to form a DNA strand. Understood? If you separate these strands, that means this strand is on this side and another strand I have straightened it. If you see a single strand, you may see first there is a sugar molecule, then there is a phosphoric acid molecule, sugar molecule, phosphoric acid molecule. This is one strand, this is another strand. Now in this one strand, the strands are made up of sugar and phosphate, and the ladders, okay, the ladders, these are the ladders, they are said to be rungs in a rail, okay, they are made up of nitrogen bases. The ladder is made up of nitrogen bases. So this makes a nucleotide. This is one unit. What is one unit? One nucleotide. Nucleotide means it is a single unit which is made up of one sugar, one phosphoric acid and one nitrogenous base. So here you may see 1, 2 and this is connected to the 3. The 3 means it is nitrogenous base. This nitrogenous base could be any of these 4. It could be adenine, it could be thymine, it could be cytosine, it could be guanine. Okay. If there is adenine here, this is another strand. Okay. If this is the first strand, this will be the second strand. These will bond with each other. If this is adenine, this will be thymine. If this also will form a bond. If this is cytosine, this will be guanine. Like that, those two strands will form a bond with each other and then they wound around each other to form a double helix. Okay, they don't just come together, they get wound around each other to form a helix. Okay, this is the structure of DNA. So basically, what is the structure of DNA? DNA is made up of many nucleotides. One nucleotide is made up of one sugar, one phosphoric acid and one nitrogen base. There are two types of bases, purines and pyrimidines. Purines are adenine and guanine. Pyrimidines are cytosine and thymine. Adenine always binds with thymine. Cytosine always binds with guanine. Okay, so there is a double hydrogen bond between adenine and thymine and a triple bond between cytosine and guanine. So if you are going to write these bonds, in between A and T you have to draw 2 lines and in between C and G you have to draw 3 lines because it is 3 bonds. 2 lines means 2 bonds. 3 lines means 3 bonds. 1 line means 1 bond. Okay. So bond means there is a chemical bond. You had studied chemical bond in your 8th standard. The chemical bond is the bond between any 2 elements or any 2 compounds. Okay. So this is the structure of DNA. If you are having a 5-mark question, you have to draw the diagram figure 16.4, the last diagram in which they have shown the ladder like structure. Now here you may see this much, this from here till here, this is said to be one helix. The distance between one helix is 3.4 nanometer. This could be asked as an objective question. In between these there are ladders, means these bonds. Okay, those bonds I have shown in the form of single lines. The distance between 2 lines is these 2 lines, it is 0.34 nanometer. That is the distance between 2 nucleotides. That is 0.34 nanometer. Even this is an objective question. Page number 182, gene. Segments of DNA molecules are called genes. You may underline, it is a fill in the blank question. Genes control the structure and function of the cells and of the body. Also, they transmit the hereditary characteristics from persons to offspring. Hence, they are said to be the functional units of heredity. That is a give reason. You may mark, genes are considered to be the functional units of heredity. From where you will write, genes control the structure and function of the cells and of the body. Also, they transmit hereditary characteristics from parents to offspring. Hence, they are called the functional units of heredity. Now, below there is a box given, DNA fingerprinting. The sequence of genes in a DNA of the person, that is the genome of the person, is identified. It is useful to identify the lineage and to identify criminals because it is unique to every person. Okay, now these sequence, that means A, then C, then next what it is, next what it is, that is said to be a particular sequence. That sequence at some part of the chromosome, it is unique for a particular person. So if a criminal is caught in a particular case, then the DNA of that particular criminal is studied and the record is kept. Okay, now at another case, in another case, if there is any doubtful person and if there is a doubt that it is that criminal only, then you can collect a sample from the particular site and you may study the sequence, compare it to the record of which we are having. If the comparison is the same, then we can conclude that this criminal was there at that site at the in the next case. Okay, so it is just a forensic study that is about DNA fingerprinting. Now, page number 183, seeds of technology. In 1990, the Human Genome Project. Human Genome Project means our DNA, a human being's DNA, it has been studied and the sequence of that also is being studied. Okay, so if you make a function, if you make the study of a particular DNA, from that DNA you can make a clone. Okay, you can make a clone. That study is going on about human genome also, but it is not allowed. Okay, it is against law. I'll read out. In 1990, the Human Genome Project was together undertaken by all of the geneticists in the world. In June 2000, scientists of this project and Celera Genomics Corporation collectively announced the discovery of complete DNA of the human genome. Depending upon the findings, it is confirmed that the number of genes in a human genome is about 20,000 to 30,000 genes. Later, they discovered the genomic sequence of many microorganisms. Due to research in genomics, diseases causing genes can be identified and genetic diseases can be diagnosed. Okay, so this is the importance. In this paragraph, you have to just keep in mind the number, that is 20,000 to 30,000. It could be asked as an objective question. But for your syllabus this year, for this year, it has been deleted. Okay, so this is the structure of DNA. Hope you have understood. Now we may move on to the next structure, that is structure of RNA. So we have studied the structure of DNA. Now we may move on to the structure of RNA. RNA means ribonucleic acid and DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid. Now the main difference between RNA and DNA is DNA is double-stranded and RNA is single-stranded. Okay, so in DNA they are wound around the other, they are double-stranded, and RNA is single-stranded. RNA also is made up of sugar, phosphoric acid and nitrogenous base. The nitrogenous base, they are of two types, purines and pyrimidines. Purines are of two types, adenine and guanine, and pyrimidines are of two types, cytosine and uracil. Now you may note that instead of thymine in DNA, RNA is having uracil, And adenine always binds with uracil. It is a double bond, a hydrogen bond. That means it is by sharing hydrogen. CG, that is cytosine always pairs with guanine. So it is AUGC or UACG. Okay, it could be anyway, but you should be keeping in mind that adenine always pairs with uracil in case of RNA if there is a strand coming. Understood? But it is single stranded, and cytosine always pairs with guanine. Now this pairing is working at the time of protein synthesis. It is working at the time of protein synthesis, otherwise RNA is single stranded. Now it is made up of nucleotides. What is a nucleotide? A nucleotide consists of one sugar molecule, one phosphoric acid and one nitrogenous base. Now there are three types of RNA: mRNA, rRNA and tRNA. mRNA is also called as messenger RNA. Now messenger means someone who is carrying a message from one place to another. Okay. Now protein synthesis is carried out in ribosomes, which are present in the cytoplasm of the cell. You had studied last year about cytoplasm and nucleus. Nucleus is having a particular nuclear membrane. Nucleus is separate and cytoplasm is the fluid which is around the nucleus. Now, ribosomes are present in the cytoplasm. That means the factory for protein synthesis is in the cytoplasm. But where is the mastermind? The mastermind is DNA. It is in the nucleus. So the code, the recipe, it is in the nucleus and the kitchen is in the cytoplasm. Okay. So that recipe has to be brought from the nucleus to the cytoplasm. That is carried out by mRNA. So what does mRNA do? mRNA carries the information from DNA in nucleus to ribosomes in the cytoplasm. Now next is rRNA. rRNA is present on ribosomes. Okay, ribosomes is the factory where the protein synthesis takes place. Now ribosomal RNA performs the protein synthesis. It helps in protein synthesis in the cytoplasm in the ribosome. Next is transfer RNA. Now you know that proteins are made up of amino acids. Amino acids are present in the cytoplasm. Proteins means it is made up of too many number of amino acids and the sequence of amino acids is important. For example, if you have been told to spell cat, you may write it as CAT. You will never write it as TAC. Okay, so consider C as one amino acid, A as another amino acid and T as another third amino acid. So you have to arrange one amino acid, second and third in a particular sequence, then only it is going to make that particular protein. I mean, if you are told to spell cat, you will write C first, then A first and T third, isn't it? Similarly, if the cell has to make a particular protein, the ribosome has to place one amino acid first, the first one first, second one second and third one third, isn't it? So the amino acids has to be transferred. It is everywhere in the cytoplasm. It has to be transferred one by one towards this rRNA. Okay, according to the code which is present on mRNA. So if mRNA says first I want adenine, then first I want a particular amino acid, not adenine, a particular amino acid. For example, just like I told you now, if it is cat, if the mRNA tells I want C first, then the transfer RNA will bring that C first. Okay, and if it tells I want A next, it has been coded on mRNA, transfer RNA will bring that A next. Okay, so that is how these three function together in protein synthesis. So these are the three types of RNA. So what is mRNA? It carries the information from DNA in the nucleus to ribosomes in the cytoplasm. rRNA, it is ribosomal RNA which performs the protein synthesis. tRNA is transfer RNA which transfers the particular amino acid according to mRNA. Now, this is a 3-mark question. Explain the 3 types of RNA. They have given the diagram. This topic is very, very important. There is a continuation next year also. So you may study this very, very thoroughly so that you may find the next year's first chapter better. Okay, so you will be able to understand it better. So you may go through the textbook. If you are having any doubts, you may ask. Thank you.